Hey everyone, welcome. Good evening. It's Monday, 8 o'clock. It's Richard here from BTFI. Good to see you. Good to have you here. I'm just going to refresh the page because I've got my laptop open tonight as well because I want to be able to see comments. So I'm just going to refresh the page and then I get to see myself in all my glory, which is not always a good thing. I'll appear at some point on there. So, good to see you. Hope you are well and happy and thriving. And it's gorgeous to see that this beautiful summer that we had is still kicking in. It's still here. 26 degrees we had yesterday for the 9th of September. That's pretty impressive. And although I have to say I do love autumn. I love the colours, and walking the dog yesterday kind of just got that sense of autumn is on its way. So I'm kind of enjoying the combination between the two. And it feels like life was well and truly kicked back in. Mia's back at school. I think probably all kids are back at school now. I know some kids went back today. That's surely got to be the last lot of kids going back to school. But I noticed because the roads are busy again. Hey Bethan, you'll have noticed roads busy, school traffic busy. And of course that only means one thing, which is that we are getting closer to Christmas. Christmas. Can you believe it? We're getting closer to Christmas. So it's nearing. It's just around the corner. I've started making my list. I know there's going to be some angry faces. Look at this, all the angry faces. It's fine, guys. Get a bit ahead of the game. So what I want to know is, who's bought a Christmas present yet? Have you bought one? If you have, just give me a big yes in the comments. If you haven't, you can give me a big no. That's okay. And when does it start for you? Are you a last minute buyer, or are you kind of the person in the January sales that's already starting to buy? I haven't bought any. I haven't bought any yet, but I have got the list going. So, okay, so I'm just waiting for a few more people to join. So we've got Bethan on, we got Jamie. Hey, Jamie's bought some presents. Oh yeah, I've got my birthday first. Jeez, I've forgotten that. I have a birthday in a couple of weeks, I think it is, sometime in September. And yes, of course, I've got that before Christmas. So I should have asked how many of you have bought me a birthday present, but I didn't do that. So Jamie's on. Hey Jamie, good to see you. You bought presents. Bethan hasn't. Lewis is watching. I bet you haven't bought any presents, have you, Lewis? I bet you haven't got anything yet. So, look, what I also love about September, when people are back to work and back in the groove, and this has been confirmed for me again in the last week. I've had calls with clients, and what I love when I speak to them at this time of the year is that they've kind of got their mojo back again. And they've got some energy and they've got some spirit and they're feeling refreshed and they're clear thinking and they're rebooted. And the question they all ask is, how long can I maintain this, do you think? How long is it until I get my next holiday? And they're already seeking their next holiday at Christmas, and at the same time going, how long can I hold this feeling of being energized and refreshed? And I'm guessing that most of them are going to make it through possibly the next 7 to 10 days before already they are back well and truly on the hamster wheel running super fast. But a lot of people live their life like that, right? Are you one of those people where you live for the weekend and you live for the next holiday and you live for the next breakout, whatever that might be? And it always kind of fascinates me that we have those 5 days each week to have an impact, to learn, to have fun, to play, to choose, to make a difference, to do stuff in life, whether we're working or not working, but we still hanker after the weekend and downtime. And often the time in between those holidays and those weekends, people are struggling. People are finding life tougher, not in their groove, without their mojo, a lack of energy. So what we wanted to pick up on tonight, we've called it Waking Up to Your Life, is about how do you get firmly in your driving seat. It's a great opportunity in September. So we've had some summertime, you've got some vitamin D in your system, you've probably had some time out, a bit more refreshed, ready to go. how do you get firmly in your driving seat? And that's about, for me, that's about how do you get in the car, turn the key, and press the accelerator. Whereas I see many people, they get in their car and they put their foot on the brake before they've even turned the key. And you're like, guy, you haven't even got ready to go before you're putting your foot on the brake, stopping yourself from moving any further forward. So I guess one of the ways you can wake up to your own life and get back in your driving seat is by joining the BTFI tribe. So I see the link's just gone down there. Someone's always one step ahead. The BTFI group, if you're not in the BTFI group, then come over and hang out with us. We're a lively bunch of movers, shakers, action takers. There's entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, therapists, people in corporate land, all kinds of people that are wanting to step change their life, their business, and actually want to be a part of a group and a tribe that will give them some love, give them some high five, and also kick their asses and help them get on track and then stay on track. So if you're not in the tribe, come and join the tribe. Hey Joe Cowlin, good to have you with us. Yo, yo, yo. Is that like, what is that? Is that like a non-Christmas ho, ho, ho? Is that like the Joe Cowlin Santa Claus thing? Anyway, it's good to have you here. So, what I wanted to do tonight is, I think I've been on a bit of a journey myself in the last probably 3, 4, 5 months, probably in the last 45 years, a massive journey. But in the last few months especially, and what I wanted to do is share a few of the things that I've been testing out, and those things are quite a broad range of things. Some of them aren't really rocket science, and some of them are a bit more groovy, I guess. And I wanted to share some of those with you because a part of that is about it's good for me to share it and talk about it and put it out there. I also want to challenge you and the lens you look through with your own life to what does waking up to your life mean for you, and therefore what are the things you are doing, actively doing and being disciplined about doing to tap into that for yourself. So I'm going to give you a few of my ideas. Some of them you'll go, bleh, not doing that. And some of them you might warm to and want to test out. But what I also want to encourage tonight is that it's a bit more of a conversation with you this evening. So I want to hear your things. What are you doing? What's the small activities, the rituals, if you like, in your day that maybe you're just starting on the road with and you're having to play around with and they're starting to give you something. Or maybe they're rituals that are in your life that you've been testing out for much longer. And I really want to hear about them because I'd love for this live to create a bigger conversation about what are all the things that people are doing to add greater value to their own life. So I've got a whole load of things to talk to you. You might hear in the background, there's a couple of noises that I am uber aware of, which is big ticking clock next to me. I love ticking clocks, but just in case you think it's a bomb, it's not a bomb, it's just a clock. And the other thing is our gorgeous Poochie Royston chewing his horn, which is generally quite a noisy affair. It's better that he chews his horn than he sits at the window here barking at the boxes. So let's hope we don't get too much of that. So, okay, so it would be useful to share a bit about the why piece. Of why over the last few months have I made an endeavour, a pretty big endeavour, to do something about my own life, to, I guess, get a bit more back in the driving seat with it. So there are a few reasons. I have a fairly busy life, no busier than anyone else's. A lot of people would look at my life and go, actually, it's quite easy. It's pretty straightforward life you have. You spend a lot of time working from home, you travel a bit, you run your own business, you do some school runs, you've got a gorgeous wife, you've got a gorgeous daughter, you've got a gorgeous pooch, you live in a nice place. All of those things, absolutely. And I have in the last probably couple of years or so felt in moments of overwhelm. I think when you run a business pretty much on your own, not fully on my own, but when it's mostly you, actually that sends people into, at times, a bit of meltdown, is a bit of feast or famine. And I've certainly felt the pain of that in the last few months. And that overwhelm brings just a massive tiredness and very heavy energy, dense energy, and really needed to be able to break that cycle and firstly get more conscious of it, and then start to do some things to tackle it. And I think out of the overwhelm, there were some other health-related things that were going on in my system. I had way too many headaches, kind of focus headaches, eye headaches, back of neck headaches, and I believe that most of those are anxiety-induced, stress-induced, over-focus, overwhelm-induced, worry, panic to greater or lesser degrees. So I had way too many headaches, and that needed to shift too. I also have this is not going to be like a health thing where I tell you all the health problems I have, because I don't actually have that many, but they are all linked. I also have a benign essential tremor, which I've had for probably 5 or 6 years, which I also know gets much worse when I am stressed, feeling out of control, not feeling in flow. So become much more aware of that in the last few months too. And it's all good, providing I don't have a cup and saucer. So if you ever invite me around to your house, don't give me tea with a cup and saucer, because it's really noisy. Poor sleep. So back to my theatre days, where I'd be doing 8 shows a week, 6 nights a week. I'd be back at 11, half 11. I'd sit up, I'd eat food, I'd have sandwiches and crisps and probably crap, and drink loads of tea, and go to bed at 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then I get up the next day and I go through usual routine. There might be rehearsals, and the same thing every night. And my sleep became quite broken, but it didn't become broken just because of the lifestyle. It became broken because of actually pretty extreme anxiety. And I think although anxiety is a diagnosable mental health condition, I didn't have it in a way that I would go to the doctor for it, because it became just very normalized for my life. So I am, I think by default, quite a worrier. I get quite anxious about things. I have a big perfection driver that I have much more in control than I ever used to have, and that got the better of me too. So pre-theatre, I'd be having conversations with myself about the show. During the show, I'd be having a really noisy conversation in my own head. After the show, I'd be going through it. What didn't work? What did work? What do I need to do differently? Why didn't that work? Why didn't I get that? I'd lie awake at night thinking the same thing, and then I'd get some sleep. Then I'd wake up, and lo and behold, the same bloody story would kick in again. And that's had a big impact on me. And my head right now is still very noisy. Even when I sit in complete silence, I notice that my head can be incredibly, incredibly noisy. And it's something I've always battled with. And I think the noise in my head, like itchy nose, has an impact on much of my day, much of my existence. There are times when I can completely quieten it down, and that's mostly when I'm coaching and with a group. The rest of the time is pretty hardcore in there. Not in a pornographic kind of way, just in a noisy, high volume, lots of chatter, and a lot of it, a load of useless shit that I carry around, chatter away to myself about. So as I say, I have got much better at dealing with that, and I'll tell you some of the ways in which I've done that. So I think I've always struggled with my mind, which is interesting considering that's what I coach on, about mindset and attitude and well-being of this bit and how that relates to everything else we do in businesses and not in business. Yet for myself, I know that I've struggled with it. So so that's some of the why I had to make a step change, and also with our mind hygiene products and the big agenda. And I realized in the last year that my heart and my gut is really behind the whole mental health piece. That's where my, I guess my bliss comes from. And I've realized there has to be more congruence in that. So I talk about this stuff. I've become almost an architect and a facilitator and a conductor of all these elements of mind hygiene. And some of them I just don't do. So it felt, incongruence doesn't sit well with me at all. So I needed to do some work on it. So I have done some work on it in the last few months. And what I'm going to share with you is some of the things that I've done. Some of them are super simple, and some of them I guess less so. Nothing's going to be particularly radical, and they are all legal. I was asked the question earlier, are they all legal? And they are mostly legal. So, okay, so as I said, I want to hear comments and thoughts. I'm just going to see if I can totally get this. Thanks, Joe. Bethan, before or to prevent overwhelm arising, I'm formally scheduling non-negotiable minimum half day between Monday and Friday to spend outdoors in nature. Nice one. It's also good for your well-being to learn something new, good for your brain and your synapses. So I'm incorporating that. I'm going to encourage people I work with to join me. Great. So there's a bit of starting a movement tonight. And for those of you that are not commenting but are watching, just hold the mirror up too, because just do this, a bit of a sense check and a pulse check about where you are in your mind hygiene, well-being, living your life to its max state right now. Kelly, we teach what we need to learn, for sure. Thank you for that. We do indeed. We must link our brains up sometime that they can have a conference call in their own, Joe. Yeah, I think you've kind of got a bit of a noisy head too. And the lovely Sarah Coleman's just joined us. Hello, Sarah Coleman. It's good to see you here. Hey, look at you, gorgeous. I gave you a really nice post the other day, Sarah Coleman, for your CD. So go and like it. And if you're watching this and you go, who the hell is Sarah Coleman? You can check her out from the comments. So I do want to hear your thoughts. I do want to hear what you're doing. I want to hear your questions. I'll unpick any of your questions I can during the live if I can. Otherwise, after the live. So, hey Jack, good to see you too. Right, so I've grouped them into a few bits. The first one I've called mindfulness, which isn't pure mindfulness, but it is about mind focus. So there are two things here. The first thing I'm going to share with you is this. This is what started first. This is, there is an element of me that could be Rambo, but possibly not. So this is my Muse headband. I'm not going to give you loads of detail on each of these. Kelly's super cool and is going to put the link in for everything. I came across Muse when I went to the Mindful Living show a few months ago, and Muse is Xanadu. Muse is a headband that's been developed in the States a couple of years ago by neuroscientists, and it measures brain activity and is used as a meditation tool to give you very immediate feedback. So at the Mindful Living show, I tested this out. I had a go with one. I quite liked it. They're quite expensive. They're a couple of £100. They've only just launched in the UK. So it links up with an app on your phone. And you can set, there's lots of elements to it that you can set, the amount of time that you're in for. You put headphones in. And what it does is measure brain activity. So it does a set at the beginning about how quiet your mind is. And then what happens in however long you choose to meditate, it plays sounds to you. So you can choose to be at the beach and you'll just hear the gentle water. And then when your mind is calm and still and quiet, so I'm just reading people's comments. Stop saying things that put me off, people. Jack Norton, you need a leotard with that. So what you do is, so you wear it and then you start to meditate, and the beautiful sea sound is nice and quiet, and you'll hear birds tweeting. So the idea is that you get birds tweeting. The moment your mind becomes noisy with additional chatter and you lose the sense of being still and quiet and focused, the weather gets worse. So the sea gets choppier. I believe you can get to like kind of full-on storms, but clearly I'm not that noisy in my head because I've done quite well with getting some bird sounds. So I really liked it as a mechanism to start and get some very immediate feedback, because otherwise how the hell do we know whether we are meditating properly? Although I don't believe there is a properly, but I think for a lot of people, they want to know, how do I know this is giving me something? How do I know this is right for me, right for what it should be? Meditation, we're still really new in understanding it in Western world. So I liked this. I didn't pay for it. Muse gave me one because I said I would talk about it and review it, and we're also going to get the founder and one of the creators of Muse on for a live. So it's quite a groovy piece of kit. I haven't used it for a few weeks or so, and for the time that I did use it, I really liked it. It was a great starting point for me to go, wow, actually that felt different, that felt a bit noisy, the app told me so. So I think for those that are kind of completely green to it and learning for the first time, it's a brilliant way to get stuck in. So we took that to another level at the weekend. Kelly and I decided that we would go on a meditation course and kind of do it in a bit more of an immersive way. We've had Neil Jordan on before talking about meditation and his approach to meditation, and we wanted to go and do something different and really tap into it in a deeper way. So we went to Will Williams. At the time that I said it, it popped up in the comments. That is just genius, tapped into Kelly. She's tapped into me probably. So we went to Will Williams meditation, who came from a recommendation. It's over 3 days, kind of just an hour on the first day where you have your puja ceremony, which is your, so it's based on Vedic meditation. So transcendental meditation came from the whole Vedic school. So Will Williams' approach is Vedic meditation. I like Will's take on it. I like where he comes from. He was in corporate world, stressed, overwhelmed, not sleeping, and 8 years ago he found meditation, completely changed his life, and now his approach is to bring meditation to more households, to more people, for people to be able to integrate it into their life in a way that means you don't have to wear kaftans and be kind of jumping around on unicorns, which I think is what a lot of people believe meditation is. And maybe in some schools, that is the type of meditation that works. But for us, it was what I've discovered over the weekend is it's incredibly simple as a process. You don't need 3 days. You need like 10 seconds for them to go, do these 4 things. And the 4 things are incredibly straightforward about sitting comfortably, closing your eyes, breathing normally, and repeating your mantra. And you go, that's easy, right? Job done. And as soon as you then start to dip into all of those things, you learn the complexities of each of those. And you also realize how stuck we get in stressful habits and patterns that mean doing any of those 4 things becomes quite difficult. Even the repetition of a statement, of a mantra, of a word, when our heads are so noisy, actually that's really bloody hard. So what I've discovered over the weekend is it's really bloody difficult. And I have been reminded that to do anything like this, to really integrate it into our lives, we have to be incredibly disciplined. I think there were 14 of us on the course, and I'm unsure how many of them will go and apply it. Some of them were even struggling over the weekend to find the 2 lots of 20 minutes a day. So that's what it is, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at the evening. Some people are going to go, oh, I struggled to do 5 minutes on the Headspace app. It's completely different. And we must also, there is a distinction between mindfulness and meditation. So mindfulness often wants us to create some focus around something and directs us towards something, whereas meditation, Vedic meditation, is non-directive. So it isn't pulling our attention into something. It's about opening up and about allowing acceptance of thoughts that come to us, and then also allowing them to move on and pass through. So I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm absolutely committed to do my twice a day for 20 minutes. I'm going to make the time because it's important enough. And again, just a reminder of anything that we want in our life. So any of the things you take from tonight, or any of those other habits that are on your radar to go and build into your day, require discipline, require wanting, require falling in love, not just with the end result and the destination and what it might give us in our life, but the falling in love with the process, which is that discomfort of going, fuck, where am I going to find 20 minutes tonight? Where am I going to find 20 minutes at this point, 2 hours before food, or at least 2 hours after food? When am I going to do that? And I think what was really fascinating was hearing some of the people in the room say that whether they were meditating in the right way, not that there is a right way, it just is, they appreciated having 20 minutes of quiet time, 20 minutes for them only, which is amazing, right? 24 hours a day, and people are going, wow, just to get 20 minutes for myself is quite a special gift. So I really enjoyed the weekend. I felt like I didn't feel like I learned a lot of content about meditation. I heard a lot of stuff that I already knew, which was good to hear. And I feel like I've got a bit of rigor around meditation. And more than that, I now have the impetus to go, I've got enough to be able to go and do this every single day and be relentless about doing it and believing that it's going to enhance my life. In fact, I think it has already. I think in the last, just in the last 48 hours, I think it has some stuff I've managed to allow to let go, a different sense of awareness of walking Royston in the park today, heightened awareness about sounds, about sight, about smell. So it is giving me something, but I think we might do another deep dive on meditation at some point. We're going to endeavour to get Will on to talk about it, and we're also going to get Mr. Muse on to talk about the Muse. So just checking for any comments coming in. Joe, Mindfulness for Busy People is another great book I use with clients and myself, and I'm going to do the MBSR course. Nice, okay. Yeah, good. Okay, well, maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe we can do a live where we talk about that, because I'm going to go and do the MBCT one. Did a retreat a few years ago. It was amazing but challenging, and now ready to do the next bit. Okay, nice. Good work. And just what you need in your life right now. I think we all need a bit of it, actually. And some of us, at certain points in our life, we need an extra spoonful. Bethan, belief in something is key too. Yeah, and again, there were people in the room that believed massively in what they were getting and what they were going to do and what they wanted and what it was giving them. But we've got to remember that people have lives which are dominant and full of patterns and habits. And you've got to want, do they want this meditation thing enough? Do they want to do the work to get the benefits when it's banging up against stuff that is habit? And I talk about this a lot, right? Because it's across the whole personal development industry. About we've got to want it enough. We've got to be so relentless in our pursuit of it and have someone that holds us to account for it. If we don't have that, building any new habit into our life is shit hard. Okay, so I'm aware that this could go on for about 7 hours unless I speed up a little bit. So next things I've grouped into sleep. So my sleep is quite poor. So I do believe that sleep hygiene habits are quite important. So what we do before we go to bed, in our few hours lead up to bed, and some of the things that we can do in the day are also really important. So one thing I have done is we bought a new mattress. Now, I've noticed that there have been times where we've gone away, we've slept in hotel beds, and I have a much better night's sleep. And I couldn't quite work out why, because we didn't have a shitty mattress. It was an all right mattress, but it wasn't shitty. But I did feel like I would sleep better in a hotel. So there is something about just being away. If that's a holiday away, I think my mind is very different. But I'd also notice on a couple of work trips, kind of fairly normally high pressure inducing work trips, I'd still slept really well. So we opted for going for a new mattress, and I looked at some of the new ones and I couldn't make a bloody decision on the new ones, because if you look at the Simba, the Otti, there's Emma, there's I can't even remember the names of all the others because I thought they were just a couple. When I looked at it, there were like 10. And you go, how the hell do you make a decision? Anyway, we made a decision, having looked through them all, and we went for the Otti. And so that has a combination of the kind of the foam and some springs. So I thought foam and springs I'm maybe going to like more than just the foam. So we've gone for the Otti. We've had that for 3 weeks. The great thing about all of this kind of new trendy cool mattresses are that you can test them for 100 nights and then send them back. So we've got it. We're 3 weeks in. Kelly's been having some really weird dreams. She thinks because of the mattress. Don't even go there. That's a whole nother Facebook Live. And I think I had a few nights of worse sleep, and I think my sleep, I've had some more comfortable nights. So I also have a bad back. I had a microdiscectomy, had a massive disc prolapse. My back is a brilliant telltale sign and pointer for where I need to put some attention and energy in my life. And when something is misaligned, my back tells me immediately. So the Otti mattress, Kelly's put the link in there for it, is so far so good, folks. Is so far so good. And whether you go for something like an Otti, you don't need to. It's quite expensive, 600 quid, I think. That said, 600 quid, I think even Kelly went 600 quid. We spend probably a third of our life in it. And I can't kind of get my head around sleeping on a £70 mattress when we spend so much time in bed and when we are quite a sleep deprived nation, right? A lot of us are in sleep debt. So why wouldn't we be doing something that means when we do sleep, we have the best quality restorative sleep that we can get? So, so far, so good on the Otti. The mattress has been a good change. So just do a bit of a mattress check for yourself. And maybe there's a worthwhile investment in going for one of the mattresses that you can try for 100 nights. And if it doesn't work, if it doesn't massively improve your sleep, then send it back. So the other thing I have is, so I'm quite good at falling asleep. But the problem is once I wake up, that's it. I'm a bit stuffed. So we have also got this, which is called a Dadao. If I press it, you can see that. See the little light? You can't see the little light because the other light's so bright on it. Ah, well, that shit doesn't work. But anyway, it's got a little purple light coming off of it. And you just click the Dadao once in the night and it shines a little purple light onto the ceiling, which then works in time of breath, so to regulate your breathing. So what happens is I wake up and my brain kicks into gear, and then that's it for me. What the Dadao has been brilliant at just giving me a focus, so to quieten my mind down, because I just work to sync my breathing with the pulsing light. And pretty quickly that helps me at least calm, reset the system, and to be ready to go back into sleep. So the Dadao has been really good for me. I'd love to hear what other ways you have of, if you wake up in the night, how do you get yourself back to sleep? Because for me that's the biggest issue. Falling asleep, I can be snoring in seconds, but the waking up in the night is a problem. So okay, so tell me any other things you've got. And the other thing I'm using at bedtime at the moment is magnesium spray. And it was actually Kelly's suggestion to test out the magnesium spray. So there's a whole ton of evidence that when we start to reboost the magnesium in our system is good for relieving anxiety, for promoting better sleep, for stronger bones, for reducing headaches, for reducing migraines, for good quality heart health. And rather than taking magnesium supplements, which don't get into your body quite so well, I have a magnesium oil spray, which I do 3 or 4 squirts before I go to bed, on the bottom of my feet, up into my ankles, over my knees. And you can also rub it into certain parts of your body. What I mean by that is parts of your body that might be hurting or aching or need some boost. And if the magnesium tends to itch and tickle and be a little bit stingy, that normally means there is a bit of a magnesium deficiency in your system. So the magnesium oil has been really good for me, and I use it at night. I sometimes put it on in the mornings, and it feels like it's given me a bit of a boost. That's only been maybe 3 or 4 weeks of testing out the magnesium oil. Some of you are a bit ahead of the bloody game here with the Epsom salt thing, because that is on my list. I can scratch it off in a minute, but thanks for that. So the Epsom salt is good. We'll come on to that in a minute. So those are the 3 things for sleep. Otti mattress has been really good. So what are you doing to support yourself at night when you sleep? The Dadao for waking up at night, for getting the breathing back into sync, and then the magnesium spray. So what comments have we got? We've got Joe Cowlin, Epsom salts. Katie, hey Katie, Epsom salt baths too. Jack, yes, all of that. The magnesium, the baths with salts, awesome. Vetiver oil. Is it Vetiver? Either way, sounds good. I don't know what you do with that. Do you burn it or put it on your skin? But sounds brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm loving all these. From just a purely selfish point of view, I'm liking all this stuff for me. So I hope those of you that are watching that also can pick up loads of great things here for whatever you need to do to wake up to your own life and get back in your driving seat. So the next grouping I've called connection to self, which is purely that, about just reconnecting with self. I think it's a noisy world we live in, more noisy than ever. And hey Haroon, good to see you Haroon. Wow, how cool. My mother sells an amazing magnesium oil spray, premium stuff. Cool, well tell us where we can buy it, Haroon. Can we get that online, or is it like a kind of, is it a private backdoor jobby that we can only get via you? But if you can get that, if you can tell us where, then we're always up for premium stuff. So do share that. Good to see you here too. So connection to self. So these are fairly simple ones. I've got Epsom salt baths, which again is the magnesium sulfate. Muscle is good for nerve function. So I've already said about the benign essential tremor. That was another reason for testing out the magnesium oil to see if that helped. Epsom salt baths is a great one before bed, warm baths a little while before bed. But the Epsom salts I've also found have been incredibly helpful when my body is achy, when my body feels tired, when I just feel slightly lacking in physical spirit. It's really helped. Thanks Haroon for posting the link to the magnesium oil spray. Awesome stuff. Cool, thank you. So another one for me before bed, this is super simple one, actually is reading. So it's super easy to sit down and we might put a bit of shit brainless television on before we go to bed, and then that becomes our thing that we watch, and then we go up to bed and then it's a bit too tired and just fall asleep. That's so important. And for me, it really works for the whole reading piece. So to get into bed a bit earlier, we were talking about it on the meditation course about being in bed by 10 o'clock. So any sleep that you get before, I think it's any sleep that you get before midnight is worth an extra hour the other side of midnight. Is that right? Or is it any sleep before 10 o'clock? Kelly's going to confirm that for me. But what I know is that if you can get to bed at like 10 o'clock, the 12, yeah, okay. The input in your body going to bed at 10 o'clock, which some people would go, 10 o'clock, how can I go to bed then? Actually is very incredibly valuable, rich sleep. Before 10, Haroon says. Okay, so even earlier then, before 10. But I know that I feel really good. Haroon now before 12. Basically, any kind of number will do somewhere between 10 and 12. Is good, has made a big difference to me, and the reading piece is incredibly important for me again, that it takes me to a very different place and means that I don't lie in bed looking at my fucking device, which does drive me nuts. So the reading is good. The reading gives me that time to just close down my mind. It makes my eyes a bit tired. It gives me something new to focus on, and just kind of lulls me into, there's something quite childlike for me about lying in bed and reading before I went to sleep, which felt incredibly soothing and nurturing, and maybe I just need to have a glass of milk with it and ask my mum to come and give me a kiss before I go to sleep. That might be a bit odd. I could ask her. She lives 50 miles away and can't even drive down the road, so it's unlikely she's going to come and give me a kiss. So we got reading, we got Epsom salts, connection to self. I know the conversation's happening around me on here. I'm not going to comment on everything. Thanks, Haroon. Body only heals before midnight. We've got, I've just missed someone else's comment. I now can't see all the comments. Body only heals before 12. How do I get to see all the comments on here? Malcolm, I know you commented just then and said something else, but now I've lost it. I can't see it. Anyway, if I could see all the comments, I would, but it's going to be a real ball ache. I don't know why they're not there. 51 comments. Just hold with me for a second, folks, while I see if I can find them. And I can't. So there we go. So I won't be commenting on any more of the comments now. Dog walk, important. Back to being in nature again is, and I'm quite a city boy. I quite love a bit of activity, and I like to be able to go to the theatre and do things and go to shops, walk to the shops. So I quite like noise in close proximity and energy in close proximity. But then we live in a little oasis. Our road is really quiet, and I love that. I love that we have a beautiful garden with trees. I love that we have a park just down the road. And more we will take Royston for longer walks at weekends out into the woods, into nature. I know, Bethan, you mentioned this right at the beginning of the live about the need for us to just get back and reconnect with nature and green and fresh air. And, you know, for those of you folks that spend bloody hours and hours in an office, it's like, what do you do to get your bit of greenery and your bit of nature and your fresh air and your getting your body moving? That's really important as well, that the dog walk in the day for me just breaks it up a bit, that I get out and just move my body. I have to move my body, and the fact that I can go out with the pooch and go for a walk. He's probably listening to all of this now going, excellent, I'm going out for another walk today. Not today, Royston, no more tonight. Is it also incredibly important? I've said about no devices. I actually, in the last however many months, have got more and more frustrated with devices and phones and finding them a real getting into all the nooks and crannies of my life. And I'm kind of liking leaving it behind or leaving it to one side or not checking it. So that time for me, when we went to Borneo, that was really great to not really have access to the phone. We could get a little bit of Wi-Fi in the evening, but in the day to not be connected. I love that. And I think we've got so stuck on looking at these devices, and just when we've got nothing to do, that's the first thing we do. It's almost that there's no space for being bored anymore, because we fill it with device time, and we go and read something else, or we go and see if anybody's liked the photo of our cheesecake. It's like, it's real shit. So time without devices. So again, just think about having a bit of a digital detox. When can you do that? Even if that's just 10 minutes a day. I think just find that time wherever it is in your life. Is really important. Creativity comes from boredom. I like that. Thanks, Sarah. You're quite right. And I realise how I so often attempt to fill Mia's time for her. I think as I go, oh, I should be creating space for her to do things. But I think it's really good that she learns to deal with boredom and work out what to do. And of course, for kids, the easy thing for dealing with boredom is that they go to their devices. So we fill our times, and when we've got a second free, we look at our device. So just do a bit of an inventory and a check with yourself about where you just need to put that to one side. And maybe that's 5 minutes to walk in the garden or walk in nature, or just look at the plants in your garden, to really pay attention to them. That was very evident from the meditation course about just starting to pay attention, heighten awareness of what's around us, of the flower, of the bee on the flower, just to notice it. But we're always in such a rush to go from one thing to the next thing. And the other thing about connection to self is, and I kind of put this in here rather than in exercise, is I'm doing a climbing course at the weekend. I know. Don't say anything. It's an indoor climbing course. And the reason I'm doing it, there are a couple of reasons. The first reason is that Mia's really cool at climbing. So she did it at school and, and really enjoys it. And I thought that would be a really cool thing to do with her. And she wanted to go over the summer. And I said, yeah, I'll go with you. But because she's not 14 yet, she can't go climbing on her own. She has to have someone with her. So rather than always working it around a friend, I thought, why don't I have a go at doing that with her? So I'm going to go and do a beginner's course for climbing, which will allow me then to go climbing with her and to go climbing on my own. So it's indoor climbing where you're on belays and things, and there's bouldering. They do too, which is basically not climbing that high without ropes. Basically, it looks like bloody hard work. That's my take on it at the moment. I sat there and I watched a bit over the summer when Mia went, and I thought, that looks like hard work. Dragging my arse up a wall. But anyway, I'm going to do it, and it's a big stretch for my comfort zone. John Maguire has said, do I want to go climbing with him? So I'm going to go climbing with him. But it is a big stretch for my comfort zone. I'm not comfortable with the idea of doing it at all. For a couple of reasons. A, I used to be quite fit and strong. I used to go to the gym like 4 times a week and be quite kind of muscly boy about 100 years ago. And I've kind of lost that. I don't even know whether I better lift my own body weight. And the other thing that just is slightly anxiety inducing are heights. So I don't like heights. So it's going to be an interesting weekend, of which I'll be updating you from my hospital bed next Monday night after the climbing course. So no, it's all going to be great. I'm a little bit excited about it. Mia's quite excited that she thinks I'll be on the course with another 5 girls that are about 14, which she thinks is really amusing. I go, I'm cool with it. I'm just way too old to be bothered by that. So, so that's the thing. So for me, that's getting into that bit of stretching body, stretching mind, stretching comfort zone. Thanks, Malcolm. I love it. Good. Well, I keep telling you. Yes, Beth and I am still jolting myself. So it's all of that. It's a physical stretch. It's a mental stretch. It's an emotional stretch, and it's a great thing to be able to do with Mia, and maybe at some point we'll get Kelly doing it too. So who knows? Weirder things have happened. So thanks for all your support on that one. So I'm looking forward to it, and I will update you. So I think it's a good kick up my own arse. So the last few things are all around nutrition. So I've done no caffeine for 5 months, which is interesting because I don't drink caffeine because I go, ooh, yeah, I really need the kick from a cup of coffee. I've never drunk coffee or tea because I think it gives me some energy boost and I can't get going. I just really enjoy the taste. So a really good cup of coffee and a really good cup of tea. I really like the flavour of it. So letting go of caffeine, which I kind of did once Borneo was quite a changing point for me. It was a changing point about seeing the animals and the food that I consume, the food that we eat in our household, the quality of it, and the caffeine. And so I've stopped drinking caffeine. That's been 5 months. I don't know that now I go, oh yeah, there's a massive difference from not drinking caffeine. But at the time, there felt a very immediate difference. The first 10 days were awful with headaches. I felt pretty crap, actually. I didn't enjoy that at all. There are days where I miss a cup of tea. I've had the odd decaf coffee, which is fine, tastes exactly the same. The taste of tea I miss, but I'm doing rooibos tea, and I've got some Buddha's tears from T2 and some white tea. So some really nice teas, which I really enjoy. It's still not a cup of tea, and I'm cool with that. But I think it's really good to not have that caffeine crap in my system. So that's one thing. Hot water with lemon in the mornings, that's what we're doing. So Kelly's on that too, Monday to Friday. Cup of hot lemon in the morning before we have anything else. Kelly hasn't given up her caffeine thing. She has reduced it, but we are both doing the hot lemon and water to kick our day off, to get our system moving. I'm drinking more water generally. I used to drink a lot of water, and I've just kind of upped that a bit now. M&S decaffeinated tea, yeah. See, I can't do the decaffeinated tea. I still think it has a very different taste. I'm happy to give it a go. I had a bit of an argument with my mum about it, where she said, oh, there's no difference. And she made me drink a cup. And it was just a bit urine-like, really. Bone broth. Yeah, I've heard of that before, and it feels and sounds so disgusting. But I don't know. I don't know whether I could do that, but I'd need to know a bit more. Maybe post something. Have you got a link, Joe, that you can post about how to do bone broth? I mean, it's like... But I'd give it a go, right? I'm up for giving stuff a go. We've done less meat, more vegetarian meals. Again, this became very obvious to me in Borneo about the amount of meat that we ate. And I feel better now reducing that. I feel better now eating much more vegetarian food than eating meat. So we haven't really had much red meat at all, actually. I don't know when we last did. We're having more fish, a bit of chicken, and more vegetarian meals. So I'm up for doing more vegetarian food. Again, my body feels better as a result of it. I just felt really dense when I was just drinking caffeine and eating meat. I felt really heavy, not in a fat way, just in a kind of a bit more trudging around, and I feel a bit higher frequency, lighter, so that's good. And the last one in here is CBD oil. So yeah, CBD oil. This came as I can't remember who posted about using it. I think it was Simon Jordan, who's in the group, and I saw his post about it, and I thought I'm going to test out a bit of CBD oil. I've never really used cannabis. I've never been able to smoke anyway. So, and I thought I would have a go with CBD oil because I did a bit of a deep dive on the research, and it's quite compelling. So I found one that I really liked, and I really like the ethos of how it's created. And actually, I think it's made a real difference. I only have 2 drips under the tongue. I've just reduced it to 2. It was doing 3 or 4. And that's made, I think, a real difference to my pain in my back, when my back and body my body feels much more relaxed, much more in flow, much more agile. And I stopped using it for a few weeks, and I noticed that my back was quite bad. I had quite a lot of pain, lying on ice, all that kind of old crap. So the CBD oil has made a big difference. I really like the place we got it from. It feels very ethical, and I like the whole family feel to it, high quality. So that is, for me, working really well. And I'm going to stick with that for another few weeks, being consistent with it, and see if that is helping in the mix. Of course, it's hard to be able to always define then which piece is helping most. So is the bed helping my back, or is it the meditation, or is it the CBD oil, or blah de blah de blah? Which one is it? I don't know which it is. And I think the message in that is that we have to have a combination. It takes lots of approaches and elements and pieces of the puzzle to get to the point that we want to get to. The dog wants to be close to me, just so you know. And he might or might not manage that. But you can hear him tap dancing around, bless him. So that's actually it for stuff. I realise we've gone on for a massively long time. So for those of you that have stuck with it, well done. For those of you that buggered off early, that's okay too. It is a long one. There is a lot of stuff, and I've talked quite a lot. I realise that. And I'm really appreciative of your input. For me, it's about, if we want different outcomes, then we just got to test this stuff. Test it out and stick with it, give it some time, and then see what bounces back and see where we notice a difference. And I think what it does by testing out quite a lot of things is it forces us to become much more aware of our system, of small changes, bigger changes, looking at what we're putting into our bodies, and how we're looking after our whole system, the whole vessel, mind as well. So not just about good mind hygiene, but about physical hygiene. Is that, you know, the more we put into it, we can start to remove it. But if we feel it isn't working or giving us stuff, but it is just about continue testing. And I think the greater awareness I have of my body in the last few months or so feels really good. I feel like I am now more firmly in the driving seat, ready, taking it on. Which I think is really important. If I need to be a role model for all that I talk about, otherwise it's a bit bullshit, and I don't like that. So, look, I really appreciate your input tonight. Thank you. I want you to think about what action you're going to take, because this isn't just about, for those of you that go, oh yeah, really interesting, lots of nice things, lots of nice links, then test it out. If you know people that are around you that are also struggling with stuff, then share this live with them, get them to think about what it is they need to test out for themselves. Where do they need to ask for support? We've got a ton of people in the group. Thanks, Haroon. We've got a ton of people in the group. So if you're stuck and you don't know what the thing is, what intervention you might need to fix something that in your life feels as though isn't working well, then just ask the question in the group. Send the person to the group and get them to ask, because there are a bloody wealth of people in there with brilliant minds, brilliant bodies, brilliant insights, incredible wisdom, and the answers exist, and normally they are much closer than we think they are, and simpler than we could ever imagine. Of course, the tough bit is about, do we want it enough, and are you going to be disciplined to embrace it and bring it into your life? So, as always, what's your action? What are you going to do? What are you going to do this week? Maybe we'll get some updates next week from my hospital bed after the climbing. Just kidding, there won't be any hospital beds. It's all going to be massively successful. I'm going to be up that wall really quick and down it even quicker. So, again, big love to you. Thank you for all your input. Ask questions. If you're watching this on repeat, still ask questions, and we will get back to you always. So look after yourselves. Big love. Take care. Thanks for all of you for your input and time and energy. And I'll see you next week. Have a good one, folks. Bye. Bye, bye, bye.